Hello, welcome back to the Soul Tree Diaries. Today is chapter 7, and today we're going to be exploring the 4 seasons of life across all of Mother Nature. Ooh, catch myself on that shelf. Welcome back. Last week we stepped into exploring the mycelium, the network, the connection between Mother Earth, sisterhood, our cycles, and that connection of sisterhood that we should grow in through life. Today we're going to be taking that to looking at the outside climate of our worlds, at the weather. And well, not just the outside climate, because we're going to be delving into the 4 seasons of our cycles, but we're looking at the seasons of life. And quite on point, Mother Nature has decided to throw at us 4 seasons today. We've had hail, sunshine, freezing, rain. We've had it all. So Mother Nature is playing along with us today in the 4 seasons. But we begin with Mother Nature because, as we know, Mother Nature cycles her way through the universe of whatever this life is. She cycles her way through. She doesn't just exist. She steps into the spring and then the summer and the winter and the autumn of each year. But no 2 springs of Mother Earth look the same. No 2 autumns look the same either. The rhythm is in the season, and the rhyme is in the nature. I love that. We are rhyming and rhythming women, cycling around the world. So we live on a globe that has 4 seasons. No 2 seasons are the same. We weather the storms of each, but each year is growing a layer of growth, wisdom, and wise to nature as it survives and thrives through the seasons of life. We have the 4 seasons of nature. We also have the 4 seasons of our own lives. The child, the maiden, the mother, the crone. We step through these seasons in life. We also have the seasons of pregnancy, the 4 seasons of pregnancy, the 3 trimesters while we're carrying our baby inside, and the 4th trimester where we should be hunkered down, hiding in our caves and our holes, or just in our bedrooms, on our beds. And that 4th trimester of the pregnancy, when they're in the outside world, is when they should be tethered to us still. That 4th season of pregnancy, the 4th trimester, where many cultures keep themselves tucked away for the first 3 months following birth. But that's a whole other chapter. We'll get on to that one at another point. Back to the 4 seasons. Back to the 4 seasons. We have the 4 seasons of nature, of our lives, of pregnancy, and we, each of us, as cycling women, we carry the 4 seasons within us every single month. As women, we are tethered to the energies and the flowing waters of the moon, the 28-day cycle where we hold a whole year's season within. But if we compare this and contrast to men who function within a 24-hour cycle of that rise, exercise, rest, sleep, rise, exercise, rest, sleep. Their season is daily, that 24-hour cycle that connects them to the sun, that keeps them grounded, that keeps them stable and strong across the whole year as we as women weather the internal seasons and flows and cycles within our homes. So we have the 4 seasons of our womb space too. Each month we have a cycle, we have a period, we bleed, but that's not all we do. We don't just bleed. That part of us is functioning in a cycle all of the month too. We have the first part of our season after we've just bled, when the energy and the sap is rising, and the creativity and the activity and the movement in the home begins, bringing in new energy, fresh growth after the release into our homes. And then once we've gone through this spring phase of our monthly cycle, we step into the heat and the hotness of the summer, of ovulation. This is when everything is opening up. That portal of life, the ovary, egg, womb portal of life, that portal opens up during this ovulation, during this season, this summer of our month. This is the season that the men do link in with. You see, they function on that 24-hour cycle where they are ready to reproduce when the woman sends out the call. And when that egg, when that ovary is ovulating and ready, those signals between the man and the woman connect. So that is one of the parts of our cycle that the men are very in tune with. That's why they are ready to reproduce, waiting for the moment for the woman to say, now is the time, I'm ovulating, let's go. And so we move through, and you know, there's an interesting fact about this as well, many interesting facts that I've seen and read. There's so many fascinating things about women when they're in this ovulation phase of life. I saw years and years ago, they were saying that women who perhaps work in clubs as dancers or even as sex workers, when they are ovulating, this is the time of the month when they would often bring in the most income, because it's the time of the month when our body is saying a whole yes, not just in our minds and finances, but biologically, the body is open, the portal is open, it's saying yes. So much within that ovulation phase. But once we've moved through ovulation and we go into the wintering phase of our cycle, this is just where we begin to slow and gather and pace ourselves, just in case there has been that fertility, just in case a baby is on the way. This is the phase where we slow, where we're not stepping into the new, where we're not trying to bring activity and energy into the home. This is where we're calming and waiting. But this phase, this crone phase, this autumn phase of our cycle is when the energy rises from that womb space, that heart-womb connection of the blood flow. It rises back up, and it comes back up into our heart space to bring us clear vision in our homes. Now, this is the part of the cycle that I think has been so misunderstood. My views on this are that as women, this is the phase of our cycle where we have got clear vision in our home, and we are watching all of the tiny interactions, all of the growth, all of the tensions that no longer that should no longer be in our home. This is what we're watching during this phase, this cycle of the month. This is when the energy comes up. Remember that liver, that's also part of helping that flow of the blood, the liver that holds on to the anger, the frustration in life. Once that energy has come back up from the womb space, up into the body, and we've got clear vision in our home, the frustrations, the bickering, the arguing, the disorder, the chaos. This is the time when we bring growth into our homes. We are not just being hormonal or emotional. We are being chronobiological. This is part of our cycle, but it's also part of the cycle of growth within a family too. You see, we see the things that need changing. We feel the frustration, the lack of growth, or the stagnation. And this is the phase of the month when we have the strength to stand in and say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, so that growth and peace and balance can be returned into the family home. Now, in our society, we're just seen as hormonal, emotional, PMS. It's given no reverence. It's given no grounding. The fact that we have this anger and frustration in the autumn and crone season of our monthly cycles. But if you look at a tree trunk, the circles, each year it grows. Some years are thinner, some years are thicker, depending on the energy and the environment of the seasons in which it's grown in. This is the same for us too in our family homes, except that monthly cycle we live in is where we ebb and flow and where we grow and where we bring the balance back into our family homes. This is the phase of wisdom, the crone phase of our cycle. This is because we are literally primed and ready to bring growth into our homes. We're wanting to bring balance before we find out if there's a baby coming on the way, along on the way. We aren't just being irritable. During this phase of our month, we are pruning what is not needed in our homes to bring growth and healthy growth for the generations ahead. And then we step into the spirit mother phase of our cycle where we bleed. This is the phase of the cycle we spoke about last week where women would gather and they'd come together to God sit. The spirit mother element. Why? Because when we're bleeding from our womb spaces, that's a direct connection to the spirit mothers and Mother Earth too. Women would gather and chatter and natter and gossip too at this time of month. There's such an important, sacred essence to women gathering at this phase of our month when we sit into that God sit, that gossip phase where we want to come into the winter and sit and gather together. So as women, we have 4 seasons of our cycle, 4 seasons of our pregnancies, 4 seasons of our lifespan, and 4 seasons to each year. We are seasonal, cycling women. And it's so important, I believe, that this essence of who we are is returned into our communities and our societies. So this is a little short one today, actually. Look at that, we're only on 14 minutes. And I'm just going to bring in some of the world data, but the world data for this, I think, is fascinating anyway, because we are cycling women. And I think that we should be given more of this wisdom This wisdom should come down through our family lines. It should come down through our family trees. Not through words, but through living and breathing these cycles within our homes. But if they're missing, if you've not grown up around cycling women, if you've not grown up connected, then it can leave you feeling completely untethered and chaotic in our minds. As women, we are designed to be in connection with women as we cycle through our family lives. So we've spoken briefly about how men have that more connection to that circadian rhythm, the rhythm of the sun, the 24 biological clock. In Chinese medicine, they also use the 24-hour clock, and they show how each area of the body goes through a cleansing and a functioning throughout each of the different stages of the 24-hour day. And this is a cycle that we know that men are very much connected with. And we are too. But as women, we have another rhythm too. Not just the circadian rhythm, which governs the 24-hour clock. We have an Infradian rhythm. This is a second clock. And it shows how our brain chemistry changes and fluctuates by 25% every single month. We fluctuate as women, we change every single month. The Infradian cycle rhythm. So in the autumn of our cycle, before we bleed, in our crone phase, where we are pruning and tending to the needs of the family to bring order inside, your brain literally shifts into a risk assessment mode. You are biologically wired to see what is wrong so you can fix it. But yet, as women, if what we are visioning in our world is not our family home, if it's our work, if it's a friendship group, if what we are bringing together each month in this phase to bring order into our homes, if what we have visioned during that month is of outside of the home, then it's no wonder that that anger, that frustration is coming out in the home, because there's no place for us to begin to bring order in the outside world. This function of cycling happens by us bringing order into our homes and our families alone. So yeah, I think last week we briefly spoke about how we have this, if we have this disconnection from sisterhood, then that vessel between the heart and the womb can go cold. But when we are stressed, when we are isolated, this pipe tightens. And this can have an impact on your monthly season too, on how much you bleed, or how heavy you bleed, or how consistent and regular your cycles are too. In Ayurveda, they say we dance through the elements. They say the Kapha is the building of spring, the spring part of our monthly cycle. The Pitta is the fire, summer. And the Vata is the wind, autumn, the autumn, winter of our season. We are multidisciplinary masterpieces. That's wonderful. We aren't hormonal. We are chronobiological. And I can't remember the name of the where has it gone? The damn dyslexic mind. I can't remember the name of the. That's the difficulty with dyslexia. I can read this word 100 times and it will still never sink into my system. which is really frustrating. The Infradian rhythm. Yes, the Infradian rhythm. But we live within this as women. We get taught, we know about the circadian rhythm, we get taught about that daily cycle that we live through, the seasons, the annual season. But did you ever get educated on your seasons as a woman? And the fact that we have a monthly calendar working in our bodies biologically too. Well, of course we do. How could we function in this monthly cycle if we didn't? We've spent so long as women trying to hide our seasons, trying to live as if we don't have seasons, play sport as if we don't have seasons. And I remember as a child, I was a very sporty child. And on those days when you're bleeding, you just don't have the capacity of what you would do in a week's time. And it's such a difficult thing to navigate for women in life. We spent so long trying to hide our cycles from the world as if we're not cycling women, that I feel that it's left us feeling a little bit lost and disconnected from even acknowledging the truth of ourselves. Each month our cycles will be slightly different. Each month the energy, the bleed, the emotions will change because it's governed by what's the word I'm looking for? It's governed by the environment of the family home. It's governed by all of the intricacies that you're feeling and sensing with your intuition each month. And just like the seasons of nature, each year we learn to walk into spring in the way that spring has been delivered to us that year. And it's the same for our seasons too. We have to learn how to walk through each stage of our monthly cycle. And perhaps instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Why am I so emotional? What's wrong? Perhaps we can start asking ourselves what part of our season and what day in our season we're in too, so that we can begin to recalibrate that inner compass and reconnect with yourselves and allow for yourself to be at that stage of your cycle without any suppression or wondering how you may be judged from the outside. Because as mothers, as women, we are cycling women, yes, and we move with the rhythms and rhymes of every season and year and month as we grow. Right, I think I've done for today. I'm quite shocked myself, really. I've done it in 24 minutes. Woohoo! Next week, actually, what are we stepping into next week? I think next week we might be stepping a little bit more into that phase of, birth, I think. I think we may be going into that. I have to check. I'm not fully sure. That's what I think at the moment. We'll see what happens when I land here in a week's time to film this one. But thank you so much for joining me again today. My name is Martine Shelley. It's a pleasure, as always, to share my mind's musings with you across this year. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.